Hi everyone, I'm Tennie McCarty. I'm the owner and founder of Shades of Hope Treatment Center in a little town called Buffalo Gap, Texas. We're south of Abilene, pretty much in the center of Texas. We've been here 33 years. It's a center, we treat all addictions with a primary focus on eating disorders and codependency. I've been in the addiction field for over 40 years. Started in the drug alcohol field while almost dying from an eating disorder that I didn't know that it had a name. And so I had eaten myself up to 287 pounds, and then I found bulimia and started practicing bulimia for 13 years, and that's what almost killed me. My liver almost stopped functioning, and my colon was falling out of my body. And so by the grace of God, I did find a treatment center that treated folks like me in LA, and I went out for September the 19th of 1985. That's been 35 years ago that I went out for treatment, and I've been in recovery ever since. And so I do these talks for anyone that might be interested in listening, but primarily for someone that might be suffering from any form of addiction, alcoholism, drug addiction, eating disorders. We do treat eating disorders as an addiction because it goes through an addiction process. And then codependency, and then there's process addictions, work addiction, love and sex addiction, different sort of process addiction. So I'm going to be talking today about progress, not perfection. And, you know, in order to make progress in anything, whether it's on your job, whether it's in school, in your house, in cooking, whatever, in order to make progress, you know, we have to take action. And most of the time we have to have a plan. If we plan to fail, we usually fail. If we fail to plan, we usually plan to fail. So if you really want to make progress in any area of your life, you make a plan, you set a goal, and then, you know, you can set, or we can set goals till hell freezes over, and nothing's going to change until we take action toward the goal. And, you know, progress is doing something every day toward the goal. A spiritual advisor of mine that I had over 50 years ago said, do something every day to help bring about change in your life, you know, whether it's from an addiction or whatever I was dealing with. And she said, just little by slow, and one day at a time, you'll wake up one day and you'll be in recovery. And that's been my experience. So I want to talk about recovery and or progress, not perfection. And, you know, we can, on progress, we have to do more than just take action. Like there's a rocking chair right over there in my living room, and I could sit in that rocking chair and I can take lots of action. I can rock and rock and rock, but I'm not going to get anywhere. So you have to take action that's specific for what you want to accomplish in life. And so in order to accomplish something, you must have a goal. And, you know, in South Pacific, there was a song that's about, if you want to, you can never have a dream. If you want to have a dream, you have to, in order to have a dream, no, if you want to have a dream come true, you have to have a dream. I think that's how it goes. You know, I'm 77 years old. My memory, they say, is the first to go. My memory's still pretty sharp. I've said that statement, I don't know, thousands of times, but it just kind of slipped my mind. But in order to have a dream come true, you must take action, put the footwork to it. And so, you know, progress, like I said, sometimes can be slow, but as long as we are taking some action every day, we can accomplish whatever goal we set. Now, being a perfectionist, is the highest form of self-abuse. Think about that. Being a perfectionist is the highest form of self-abuse. Because when you're a perfectionist, and I have been, I'm not anymore, but I have been, we never feel like we've done it completely right. We keep striving to get it better. And then a lot of times we're striving for outside compliments. We want someone else to validate our reality. And so when they don't, we feel like we haven't gotten the job done well enough. So we work even harder. And perfectionism is a seedbed for work addiction. And I had the disease or addiction of work addiction. And perfectionism was the seedbed for it. I just kept trying to achieve more and do it more perfect and more perfect, and was working up to 80, 90, 100 hours a week. And work addiction can be a killer. It's like a fog that comes over you, and it, how you diagnose any addiction is if you have a consequence with any behavior that you're doing and you continue to do it in spite of the consequence. And a consequence is being with could be in the family, it could be in the workplace, it could be legal, it could be with your health. If you have any consequence with any behavior that you're doing and you continue to do it, you may be an addict. And so with me, the consequence was my family. Was the first thing, was my family. I couldn't even go to dinner without somehow, if I ever did go to dinner with them, it would be very short and I'd have to get back to work. And somehow I would work in how to, something about what I was doing at work. And my children, who were teenagers, got sick and tired of hearing about it. My husband would roll his eyes. He got tired of it. So my children got together and they got a sign to show when I was talking about work addiction. And they put 3 fingers up that represented a W. I think they really wanted to show me the middle finger. But anyway, they put up a W to Mom, you're talking about work again. So that was my perfectionism, and it really started. My mother was a prescription drug addict and was very sick all of my life, and so my sister and I did the housework, and my mother would always say if she wanted something done really fast, she would have my sister do it. If she wanted something done really good, she would have me do it. Well, that just fed that perfectionism, because I would scrub those floors, I'd keep those windows shining, because I yearned for her approval of me and those compliments. So that was sort of the seedbed or the start of my perfectionism. And so what perfectionism is it will affect your self-esteem and your self-worth. Like I said, because we don't ever feel like we've got it done good enough. And there's a lot of self-doubt about ourselves, and what is underneath all of the self-doubt and the self-esteem issues is usually rage, is a lot of rage. One thing, when you're a perfectionist and you're a work addict and you overwork and you do everything really well, you expect other people to join you in that. And, if you're in the workplace, majority of people want to go in and work their time slot, 8 hours, whatever it is, and they can do a good job. They do what's assigned for them to do. And then they leave the work there and then they go home. They don't get their good feelings about themselves. I mean, people can take healthy pride in a job well done, but healthy people don't get all of their good feelings about themselves out of their doing. They don't become human doers. They are human beings, and so they can leave the workplace and go home and be an active member of their family, whereas work addicts cannot. They work and they work and they work, and they do it in a perfectionistic type of way. And like I said, they want everybody else to join them, and they look down on people who don't. So one of the things is, here at Shades of Hope, we treat all addictions. Now, perfectionism can show up in any addiction, but it primarily shows up in eating disorders. particularly with your anorexics and bulimics, and then we'll narrow it down even more with your anorexics. An anorexic doesn't feel like they can control anything outside in their life. But they know they can control what goes through their mouth, and so they will control every bite that is put into their mouth. And then they get perfection, use perfection in their dress. Most of the time they want to look nice, or otherwise they will wear very baggy clothes to cover up their bodies, that their weight's real compromised. But they have a work ethic that everything has to be perfect. And like I said, they want you to be perfect also, not just themselves. And so what a lot of times anorexics come out of, the type of households, is very seldom do you find an anorexic coming out of divorced families. Usually the coupleship is there. A lot of times there'll be problems with the marriage, but what happens is the disease of anorexia will serve as a vehicle to keep the parents together. Now, no one sets out for that to happen. The person, whether it's a boy or a girl, there's more anorexic women, young women and girls than men, but we do have anorexic men out there. And they don't start out to say to themselves, I'm going to not eat, I'm going to get a lot of attention over not eating, and my parents are going to, it's going to help their relationship because they're going to have to get close to help me. That's not no one's frame of reference or their thought pattern, but that's what the disease of anorexia does. It will get a parent's attention when nothing else will, because when they see a child or a young adult or even someone in their 30s or 40s begin to lose weight and lose weight and lose weight until it is so unhealthy, what happens, it gets the couple together so they can go seek help for their child. And so that is what how the disease of anorexia shows up in family systems. Now, it's not in every family, so don't go and say that's in every family, but in a lot of family systems that have where the disease of anorexia shows up, it shows up in the coupleship. And so the couple comes together and to get the anorexic help, and a lot of times the anorexic likes that attention, and they stay very sick in order to continue to get the addiction. Also, in that kind of family system, a lot of times there's what we call one dominating parent and one ineffective parent. Whether I like it or not, most time the dominating parent will be the mom. And they're the one that will be enforcing, trying to make the anorexic eat. They'll be enforcing the rules, and the dad a lot of times will be an addict. They could be alcoholic, drug addict, they could be a work addict. A lot of times in this type of system, they're more work addicts, to where they are out of they're in the workplace more, they're out of the home a lot. And they too, many fathers from anorexic girls or women have very little time for their families, and but they also can be perfectionists, and they expect perfection from their family, and this is what an anorexic will pick up on. So what happens is, with that kind of system, there'll be conflict between the anorexic and her mother. What we joke around here, if we say, if it's not one thing, it's your mother. Most of your eating disorder clients have problems with their mothers, and it shows up with the battle with the food. With a compulsive overeater, the mother wants them to go on diets and lose weight. With the bulimic, they want them to, stop purging and, and quit overeating. And with the anorexic, the focus is on eating, you're too thin. But before they start losing the weight, a lot of times that type of mother will want the mother may be overweight herself, and she will project on her daughter. She wants her daughter to be thin. and she might even monitor her daughter's eating, and and put her on diets early on, and then later it can turn into anorexia. So there's no one certain way that the disease plays itself out. But one of the things anorexics will do, they'll have that conflict with mother a lot of times, and then they'll have what we call father hunger. They yearn for that attention from their father. And by being sick, a lot of times that will get the attention of the father when nothing else will. And so for the daughter to have to give that up, sometimes they will be in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're still yearning for if they live that long, still yearning for their father's attention. And that's the way they get it, is by staying sick. So, and not, also perfectionism, it doesn't show up just in eating disorder clients or patients. It will also show up with anxiety, with OCD, of course with OCD, with depression, and that feeling to be perfect in getting their feelings outside themselves, by their performance, and then they have the anxiety of not being able to do it right. So that's pretty much what perfectionism is, and it pretty much has to be treated. The action needs to be addressed, and it needs to be confronted. But to do that, there must be a planned program or something offered to take its place. You don't take away one behavior without replacing it with another. And so one of the things we offer here at Shades of Hope is we do a 4-day intensive. And in that intensive, yes, we do treat people with addictions that come. A lot of people that have been through treatment will come back for kind of a checkup. But it's mainly a lot about codependency and perfection. And being a perfectionist is a symptom of codependency, where they get their good feelings about themselves, outside themselves with their performance. And so we do this 4-day intensive, and it's called Breaking Free from Codependency. And it's about looking at our past and seeing how these patterns started in childhood. Every pattern that we have started out of a need. It was something that helped us, and then when it becomes a problem is when we can't give it up. And then, it starts out maybe as a solution, like people who drink the drug alcohol. Not everyone who drinks is an alcoholic, but if they have the body chemistry and brain of an addict, if they continue to drink alcohol, it can turn into the disease of alcoholism. And so it is important to whether it's addiction, mental illness, whatever, perfectionism can play out in those particular emotional diseases or addictions. So this intensive, usually the core of all addiction is what we call codependency. It's that core pain that was set up in childhood, that where something happened to us. It doesn't have to be anything great big. It doesn't have to be parents. Sometimes it's being bullied at school. Sometimes it is, not getting cheerleader. I mean, a day in a life of a child is much different than a day in a life of an adult. So if a child is real sensitive and something happens to them and it goes to their heart, they begin to build a case against themselves, and it could be some kind of sexual abuse or emotional abuse, physical abuse, intellectual or spiritual abuse. It can be any form of abuse that has gone into the heart of a person that tells them that they're not worth anything. And so that in itself can set up those patterns of perfection. So if you have anything like this that you're carrying around of the past, any burdens, any baggage, family baggage, that 4-day intensive might be helpful for you. And what I'd recommend is that you call the center, and the number is 382-572-3843. I also am I'm coming out of retirement. I'm not working every day, but I've never completely retired. My daughter, who's been a therapist over 30 years, and myself, we do the intensives once a month. And now I have added doing a Zoom on Wednesday. I just finished that. Plus, I'm also doing private phone sessions. And we're having some really good success with that because people can't a lot of times get out and go face to face with someone, a therapist. So, and then of course, we have inpatient treatment. So if you yourself or if you know someone that's suffering from any form of addiction or eating disorders, give us a call because perhaps we can help. But thanks for listening, and remember, we strive for spiritual progress and settle for spiritual perfection. We are not, no, I got that backwards too. We strive for spiritual perfection and settle for progress. We settle for progress, not perfection. I hope you can make sense out of my forgetting 2 or 3 of these things. See, this is a whole, this is a demonstration on how not to be perfect. You make mistakes. I make mistakes, but I'm not a mistake. I always thought I was, but guess what? I'm a perfectly imperfect human being, and so are you. So thanks for listening. Call us if we can help. Thanks.